addiction. On today's episode, I'm making Twix flavoured cupcakes. So these guys have got a biscuit base, a caramel cupcake, chocolate caramel frosting, they're drizzled in milk chocolate, and to top them off, we've got a syringe full of gooey caramel that you can either squirt into the middle or you can drizzle on top. Let's get started. So today's recipe is a small batch recipe. It's only going to make you 6 cupcakes, but there's only 1 egg, so it's super easy to double, triple, or quadruple. You're going to need some of our perfectly pipeable buttercream frosting. I'll link to that recipe in the description box down below. I've got some shortbread biscuits, some compound milk chocolate, which is chocolate that doesn't contain cocoa butter, a single egg, some butter, some oil, and some whole milk. You'll also need some brown sugar, some additional butter, and some flour. As always, I'm going to leave where you can find all of your recipe quantities and conversions in the description box below. I've got a tin of pre-made caramel, a Ziploc bag, a disposable piping bag, which I'm pairing with an open round tip piping tip today, and I've also got a little bit of vanilla essence. You've got a couple of Twix bars there purely for decoration, and also some little syringes. I just bought these from a pharmacy and they're about 50 cents each. You're going to need a cupcake tray with just 6 cupcake liners, and I've also got a spoon, a pair of scissors, a sharp knife, and a rolling pin. First up, we're going to make our base, so I've just got 6 of those shortbread cookies, chuck them into a Ziploc bag, and then pound them with a rolling pin, getting rid of any frustration or anger you might have, and really pulverizing those little shortbread cookies. Melt your smaller quantity of butter, and then you just want to pour that over the top of your crushed biscuits and stir it through till it's really well combined. Take a couple of teaspoons of that mixture, pop it into the base of each of your little cupcake liners, and then use the end of your rolling pin to really squish those cookie bases down so they're nice and tight and firmly packed. Set those guys off to the side, and then it's time to get into our cake batter. So I'm going to use an electric mixer, and it really doesn't matter if you use a paddle or a whisk attachment here. Pop in your brown sugar, your softened butter, so it shouldn't be melted, but it should be nice and soft, and your little bit of vanilla essence. In goes your oil here, and then you want to mix that on a high speed for about 2 minutes. You just want to cream that butter and sugar mixture together really nicely so it's light and fluffy. While that's mixing, add in your egg and just let it go for another 15 or 20 seconds to mix that egg through nicely, and then you can turn your mixer off. Add in your flour and your milk, and from this point you don't want to overbeat your mixture here, so just give it about 20 or 30 seconds till those dry ingredients are really nicely combined. Your mixture should be quite nice and light and fluffy. Spoon your mixture out on top of your little biscuit bases till all of your cupcake liners are 2/3 full, and pop those off into a moderate oven for about 14 minutes or until they spring back when touched in the middle. Canned caramel can tend to come out of the can a little bit lumpy, so give it a good whisk with a hand whisker or an electric mixer so it's really nice and smooth. And then you want to use your little syringes to suck up a generous amount, 5 mils to be exact, of that caramel. Wipe off the ends of them and set them aside on a tray just so that they're ready to go when it comes to decorating. Split your buttercream frosting now into 2 separate bowls, and I've got some melted chocolate in one bowl, and then I've got some of that leftover caramel in the other bowl. So I'm going to take just a couple of teaspoons of the caramel because that's going to thin your icing down and make it a little bit moister. So don't start with your icing too thin here. And then I'm going to take a couple of spoonfuls of the melted chocolate and put it into the other half. You want to stir both of those through really vigorously, so what you're ending up with is half caramel frosting and half milk chocolate frosting. Cut the end off a disposable piping bag and pop in your piping tip, and then you just want to spoon in both flavours. So I've showed you how to do this a couple of times with the rainbow frostings. You basically just want to open the bag up and you want to half fill one side of the bag with your chocolate frosting and then half fill the other side of the bag with your caramel frosting, just carefully using your spoon. Push both of those at about the same time down to the end of the piping tip, and then give them a little test squeeze in a bowl so that you've got both of those colours of frosting coming out at the same time, giving you kind of like a dual colour swirl. Scoop the rest of your melted chocolate into a Ziploc bag, and your cupcakes should be out of the oven and completely cool before you start to decorate them. They are going to be a little more golden on top than a traditional vanilla cupcake because of the brown sugar we've used in the recipe. Take a knife and you just want to really roughly chop those Twix bars. You're only going to use like 1 piece on each of these cupcakes, or more if you like. Use your dual coloured frosting to make a really nice little high smooth swirl on the top of each of your Twix cupcakes. And then you want to snip the tip off your Ziploc bag. Take your Ziploc bag and you're just going to drizzle sort of randomly little curls of that melted milk chocolate on top, which is going to provide kind of the crunch of the chocolatey from a Twix. And then you want to add in a nice little triangle of Twix on top and shove one of those syringes right down into the center of the cake. So you actually want to shove it right down in so that it doesn't topple over. When you want to serve those, your guests can either squirt that delicious caramel straight into the center of their Twix cupcakes so that it bursts out when they eat it, or they can take their syringe and they can drizzle it over the top of all of that chocolatey, frostingy, Twixy goodness. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's Twix cupcake small batch recipe from my cupcake addiction. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do. For more small batch recipes, I will leave a link to the small batch playlist in the description box below. And as always, thanks very much for watching.